Hi, my name is Rachel. I am a wife, a knitter, a crocheter. I am a first-time Rhineback attendee, and I wanted just to share with you a little tips and tricks and some updates about my experience at Rhineback and what I hope to do the next time I go. So first and foremost, as I said before, I am still new to the world of knitting. I have been crocheting for years. I started when I was in middle school and continued on, off and on, I should say, as I grew up. But when the pandemic hit that summer of 2020, I spent a lot of time improving my skill at crocheting and making a variety of different things that I had never made before, such as scarves and bags and sweaters and tops, like the projects that I never thought about doing. I've only crocheted blankets, and then I started doing more. And then after watching a video about continental knitting by Expression Fiber, it just like changed the game for me. And I'm in love with this particular craft as well as I am with crochet. And because have gone down the rabbit hole deep, I heard about Rhineback. And for the last 2 years, I've been thinking like maybe I should go to a fiber festival just to see what it's like and get the whole feel of the experience. And fortunately, all the stars aligned and I was able to go to Rhineback. So for this year, my sister-in-law and we drove up from Massachusetts to upstate New York. We ended up staying about an hour from Rhineback. We stayed in a city or a lake community called Greenwood Lakes. And it is beautiful. We had this beautiful picturesque view of the lake and the mountain behind the lake, the treetops as well, and the other houses. It was absolutely gorgeous. And the Airbnb that we stayed in was well put together. It was very welcoming and inviting and safe, first and foremost. And I felt comfortable in that particular space to relax, get myself mentally prepared for the ultimate fiber festival. And the next day we got up, we stopped at Target because who doesn't need to stop at Target when you're on your way to a fiber festival? And then we finally made our way to Rhineback. Now, I went there with a specific budget in mind. I have watched many different podcast videos giving updates and tricks about cash, about bringing cash with you, I should say, about wearing rain boots and this and the other. So I felt prepared because I did have cash with me. I had my tote bag. I intentionally ordered this off of Amazon because I'm a little purple queen. So I ordered this off of Amazon. And what I love so much about this bag, in addition to it having pretty deep, it also had a little side pocket, and I used that to keep my cash as well as my keys and hand sanitizer and tissue because the weather was just inviting all types of things. So we got there, and I could not believe the number of people who was there. I heard about that it was going to be a large crowd, but that just blew my mind. It was the size of like a football game, like. And I'm from the South. Like when I say the size of a football game, I mean like 20, 30,000 deep. And we drove all the way to the one side where we were told to park. And I'll get to the whole outcome of the parking situation later on. But despite the cool weather and rain and mud, there were still tons of people in attendance. And instead of going through the main gate, we went through the side gate, which brought us to the animals section. So we didn't have to wait in line to show our tickets. We got there around 11. Actually, we were able to walk through. And before I came, I had looked at the vendor list online, so I had a feel or an idea about which vendors I wanted to see. And I forgot that Black Pearl Magic wasn't going to be at the Rhineback portion. She was going to be at Woolen Folks. So I missed out on seeing her. She was the only vendor they were the only vendor that I wanted to see that I didn't get a chance to. But other than that, my goal is to visit Bare Naked Wool, Mrs. Babs, and to see if I can find a hand-dyed yarn that was similar to the yarn I'm using for my Elena tank. And that's the name I'm calling it. It's actually the mini mock tank, which I'll get to later on. So anyway, we go through the little muddy fields, and we go throughout the various stalls and see so much wool, and it felt a little overwhelming. I'm not going to lie, because I'm like, where do I stop? How do I pick which yarn I'm going to do? Do I just go straight to the vendors I wanted to see, or do I explore the other ones? And so that was the only thing that I wish I had did a better job preparing, like knowing that on Saturday I'm just going to explore, and then maybe on Sunday go directly to the vendor I wanted to. Or if there was a vendor that I knew was doing an exclusive colorway for Rhineback, just going straight to their stall and making that purchase, and then the rest of the time just exploring. So if I had my time back, or if I were to do this again, I would definitely do Saturday as expiration day and picking vendors whose hand dyes I really enjoy, and to see their exclusive colorway, whereas everyone else just to explore, to see what they have and come back the next day, knowing that there's a potential that they may not have the yarn that you're looking for. And that's one of the things I think that drives so many of us fiber enthusiasts to go in, that we want to make sure we get there on time so we can get as much yarn as possible. But nevertheless, got through the first stall and just realized, like, I really don't know where I want to go. And then I like paused and reset, and I looked at the vendor list again. I was like, okay, I know I want to see Mrs. Babs, and I know I want to see bare naked wool. So I'm going to go to Building C, explore their yarn, and that's it. So my sister-in-law, as we were walking, I ran into a fellow member of the knitting online group that I joined with Knit Together with Kim and Jana, and gave her a big hug. And she told me how to get to Building C because we were lost. And as I was walking to Building C, I see Tony Lipsey's mom. And Tony Lipsey is one of my favorite YouTube podcasters. I enjoy her podcast channel. I enjoy her yarn reviews, her tutorials. And I can honestly say she's one of the instructors online that has like rejuvenated my love for crochet and gave me the confidence to try out these different techniques and learning how to do different stitches. I even learned how to Tunisian crochet from her channel based on her instructional overview. She does a really great job of just providing you clear directions on how to engage with the task, as well as giving you words of encouragement, so that way you will keep trying. So it was wonderful to run into her mom and to give her mom a hug. And hopefully at the end of this, you'll be able to see photos of that. And if you're unable to see the video, I also uploaded pictures on my Instagram page as well. So in addition to meeting her mom, she gave me directions where she was at. So we went into Building C. I went to Bare Naked Wool, and I was able to, this was the first purchase I made from Bare Naked Wool. Hopefully you can see that. Oops, it's upside down. So this is their Stone Soup DK, super soft. This is 80% wool, which is a blend of Rambouillet, Cambria, Lincoln, and Chiro, 15% alpaca and llama, and 5% of a combination of tencel, bamboo, silk, and bison. And you're instructed to hand wash this. This is the color granite. And this was the first yarn purchase I made, and I absolutely love it. And I went in with the intent of buying enough to make the storm sweater, which I still think I'm going to use this for. I think it will make for a beautiful, cozy, super woolly sweater. And what I love so much about it, it's not itchy on your neck. And I'm really glad I was turned on to this yarn when I watched an episode of Needles at the Ready, and seeing Kevin's beautiful garment and how the drape of it, I know that this is going to be an excellent. So this was the first one I purchased from Bare Naked Wool, and I did go back there again, but I'll share that later on. So I got that, and then I turned around after making the purchase, and I saw Loop was there. And we have Loop here in Massachusetts. Circle of Stitches offers a variety of different Loop yarn, both their DK and worsted weight. And I believe they also carry the fingering weight yarn as well. And I've been wanting to purchase the yarn, and I'm like, I'm at a fiber festival, I might as well. I decided just to get one skein of the colorways that I was interested in, and if I found one I really liked, I can always buy the sweater quantity from Circle of Stitches, because they seem to have a large abundance. Plus you can also order from their website, and that was what was really cool. Another cool thing about these vendors this year was the fact that many of them were taking cards. They weren't taking cash, which is a good or bad thing. If you bought cash because you knew you were sticking to a budget, well, they broke the budget, at least my budget. But they were also accepting cards, and so I was able to purchase 3 skeins of yarn from Loop, and this is one of the skeins. This is their fingering weight yarn. This is 100% fine merino, 400 yards, 100 grams, and this particular colorway is called Kiss. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, this would be perfect for a muscle burrow hat. I already have 2 other yarns lined up and ready to go for me to cast this on. So this will be my 2024 hat project. I'm really going to push myself to making a muscle burrow, but I absolutely just love their yarn. This so squishy and so super soft. So this was my second purchase I made that particular day. And by this point, I had to switch to this tote. I bought this from Bare Naked Wool, and their totes were really inexpensive. It was only 25 bucks. And I can honestly say, not only did I have my yarn in here, but I had my other yarn bag. I ended up carrying multiple bottles of wine in there as well, and cupcakes, and a pretzel, and a water bottle, and my umbrella. All fit in there and without any complaint. So we were walking through, we couldn't find Mrs. Babs. I'm embarrassed to say that we walked by it twice, not realizing that that was the particular vendor. And as I was walking back, because again, my sister-in-law, we kept like, where is Mrs. Babs? And we're like going through the other barns. We went into building B and C, A, still couldn't see it. And as we were coming back out of building A, I saw Tony Lipsy stand up. I was like, oh my God, there she is. So I found the courage. I walked down, or kind of like burrowed my way through, and I saw her and I said hello, and I was able to tell her how much she's inspired me as a crocheter, and was able to take some pictures with her. Again, you should be able to see this at the end of the video or on my Instagram. So it was just a highlight moment. I did everything humanly possible not to cry, but instead I had a hot flash. And so her mom was kind enough to give me a fan because I was so nervous and excited. And as I was walking there, I got so many compliments on my dress. I'm not wearing it, obviously. I wore my stripe hype dress that is designed by Veronica, Lindbergh. And it was probably one of the highlights of my day, with to hear so many people give me so many compliments. Like, I love your dress. Sometimes the way I was standing, it did look like a skirt. They're like, oh my God, your skirt's so cute. I was like, no, it's a dress. So I was really, really like, oh, thanks, guys. Because it's only at a fiber event where you can actually get appreciation for the knitwear or crochet wear that you put together. So that was a big highlight of mine. And then as we were leaving, I saw the author or the owner, one of the owners of La Bien there too. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I knew I was going to see her that evening. That's why I didn't accost her. And I'll get to where I did that evening later on. So after we did that, and I hit the 2 stores, and I gave up on Mrs. Babs, even though, again, it was right there. We went to a neighborhood fiber company, and I didn't intend to buy anything, but then I saw this beautiful bag. And so seeing this bag, I was like, okay, I'm going to go check out the yarn. And I also wanted to give, as I said before, I love to support Black-owned businesses, and it was really wonderful to do so. So while I was there, I saw this beautiful yarn, and I've used this yarn before for a ranunculus that I made. It came out amazing, and my poor washing instructions is the only reason why I don't wear it more often. But this is their Capital Luxury Sport, 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% silk, about 375 yards comes in this. And what I did with this, when I made the ranunculus, I held it together double. And so I had plenty of yarn to make the garment that I was looking for. And this particular colorway is called Bolton Hill, and it's super nice, super luxurious. And so I highly recommend, if you're looking for a beautiful sport weight or fingering weight yarn, definitely check out Neighborhood Fiber, because what I love so much about their yarn is the fact that it works up really well. It really accentuates the stitches that you're using it for. And it's just a really well developed yarn. And again, had it not been for my poor washing instructions, that garment would be in full use. So after making that wonderful purchase from their company, we left the barns and we wanted to get some food. We went and got the fried Brussels sprouts, which were delicious. And then after we got the fried Brussels sprouts, we were walking around and we're like, what should we do now? Because initially we were going to go do a wine tasting, but where we were going for the wine tasting was like on the other side of town. And we knew we had our dinner plans was right near Rhineback. So I told my sister, like, well, they're doing a wine tasting in the building across. So like, want to check it out, see if it's actually there. They weren't doing one wine tasting. They were doing a variety of different wine spirits tasting. As soon as you came in, you were hit with it. And we were like, I've never tried German wine before. What does that taste like? So we were able to do a really fun interactive wine tasting with one of the vendors there, had a really good time with her. And then we walked around because she was kind enough, after we selected the wine we wanted to purchase, she was kind enough to hold it for us until we were done with our full tour. So then we toured the facility and we came across some honey sticks that we purchased, beef jerky she got. I even found a candle maker, and Here's the candle I purchased. This is Recycled Glass Candle Company, and this particular soy candle in a 10 ounce was poured in Hudson Valley, and this scent is called Thanksgiving, and it's divine. As soon as I smelled it, I was like, this is the one, because I really like soft, sweet scents, and that hit the money. And what was really cute about their particular setup, not only were they selling names such as like Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah, but they also in Kwanzaa, but they were also selling like little not picks, things associated with knitting and crochet and other fibers. So I really got a big kick out of them. We also met a mom who baked these beautiful mini cupcakes that they melted in your mouth, and I was so glad I got that. It was one flavor called peanut butter and jelly. The rum cake one was delicious, and you can actually taste the rum, but in a good way. And we also got a chance to taste these pre-developed cocktails. It was a little too strong for me, but my sister-in-law loved it and ended up buying some. Then we tried some sangria as well. So that particular, those stalls had a variety of different things. And then I think the highlight for me as being there was the cheese. There was a goat cheese, stand that was set up, and it was delicious. I just like the second I taste, I was like, I'll take it. I don't need to hear anything else. I'll just buy it right there and there. So that was a really great purchase, and I'm really excited. I've already consumed half the container, and I've only had it for a day and a half. So after we left that location, we got some pretzels, and we sat down, we ate our goat cheese just to kind of relax and take in everything. And while we were sitting there, I was just like, this is incredible. And by that particular point, it was almost 2, and a lot of people were going to the hill. And as I was sitting, I saw Kevin and Ray, and so I said hello and chatted with them. And then I saw Vincent for Les Garçons, and said hello to them, to him. I saw Vincent, no, I saw Max, and I chatted with Max, but I saw Vincent, and I didn't get a chance to say hi to him because he looked like he was on his way to somewhere, and I didn't want to interrupt while we were sitting there. And then while we were eating and waiting, after we said goodbye to Kevin and Ray, one of my former co-workers also came to Rhineback with another mutual friend of ours, and she's like, oh, do you want to meet up? And so we walked over to one of the building stalls, and we met up. And while we were there, I saw Gigi, and she's one of the more infamous knitters. She's known for her beautiful orange and just her beautiful personality and love for not only the color orange, but the community, the fiber community. So it was really great to see her, to hear her, to talk with her. And after we did that, we met up, we walked around a little bit, didn't see too many things wanted to purchase. There were a couple of like, oh, that looks cool, but not like want to buy it right then and there. And we made our way out. And as we were leaving, I saw, because I was so nervous about speaking to Gigi, and I needed like the words of encouragement. As we were leaving that particular stall, I saw Casey from Young Folk Knits and her friend Becky, who also has a podcast channel that slips my mind. And so I took a picture with them too. And by the time we did all the pictures and the purchases, Friday was like, okay, need to wrap up today and get ready for dinner, because we were having dinner at Rose Hill Farm. And we stopped through the barns one more time just to make sure we didn't miss out, in which I'm glad we did, because we ended up buying handmade milk lotion from Cat's View Farm. And it is one of the best lotions I have purchased. It smells divine, and it leaves this beautiful, soft feeling on your hands, not greasy at all. It was perfect. I'm so glad that we ran into their stall, and very happy with my purchase. And so we made it to the car. Now, as I mentioned before, it was a lot of rain and very muddy, and because of this, it's going to cause difficulty in moving around. So as we were coming out of the parking spot, I was like, okay, I got to avoid that big patch of mud, this patch of mud over here, because it looks like it's going to cause the car to slide. Well, I was going around it, but my tire hit something, and I just slowly started to slide down a hill. And as much as I tried to stop and brake, I was about to crash into a car. Fortunately, I put on my brakes and I was able to do it. And I was able to find someone, this wonderful man came over. He was like, yeah, I've been doing this all day. He was like, you're not the first, and unfortunately you won't be the last. So he was able to tow me. It took about 25 minutes. Luckily, we had plenty of time to get to Rose Hill Farm. So it was a little scary at first, but they got us out and safe and sound. And so I was like, okay. And it shook me up a little bit because I never had that happen before where I almost did like a mudslide. And so we got to, I stopped to get my sister-in-law some eye drops, and then we went to Rose Hill Farm, and it was so picturesque because it was really chilly by then. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had a thicker jacket on because I only had my jean jacket and I didn't have on any hats. But I remember I had the cows that I had made with me. So I put one of them on. And as I was waiting in line, I saw Kim and Jonna from Knit Together with Kim and Jonna. So I said hello. We took a picture, and it was just nice to chat with them and to catch up. And there was another super fan that was there too who talked to them. I was like, I could talk to Kim and Jonna later because I'm part of their knit group. And so we went inside and we found a really great table where we could sit and be comfortable, but not like in the mix of everything. And the cider that they had was so good. And in addition to the delicious cider, they had organic food trucks there. So we were able to get some really great food and go sit by the bonfire for a little bit, listen to some really nice jazz, and had such a great conversation with a yarn store owner. She and her husband were there. So their yarn store is called the Yarn Bowl, and she's out of Australia. They were so sweet, and I can't wait to purchase yarn from her store and have it shipped up here. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with them and just conversing with someone who has the same love and enthusiasm for knitting and crochet as I do, or specifically fiber. And my sister-in-law and her husband were able to chat and say, we have no idea then talk about how they have no idea what we were gushing about. And while we were there, Labier was also selling yarn, and I picked up 2 skeins of this yarn. So this is this yarn is called Helix, and the color is Anemone. And this is 710 yards, which is about 650 meters. It's Falkland merino and 25% of Gotland wool. And this is 100 grams. Now, as they were selling this, they said that this was a fingering weight yarn, but in my opinion, I think this is more lace weight than it is fingering. One of the girls there from Brooklyn General had said, "Oh, it's fingering," and I was like, this feels more like lace weight. So initially, I had purchased 2 skeins of this with the plan of making the another mini mock tank for one of my students, but this skein of yarn was $38, and the second one was obviously $38. I'm like, that's a lot of money to be spending on someone that's more than likely A, going to lose it, or B, not wear it. So I decided that I am going to use this particular yarn just for a different project, and I will make her mini mock tank using a different yarn that's a little bit less expensive. So I am glad I made that decision. And after I did my yarn purchase and we had some more cider, we drove back. And driving to the house on the second night was much easier than the first night, because first night it was rainy and foggy, and we kept joking like, oh my gosh, Edward from Twilight is going to pop out because it looked that rainy, foggy setting. So the second night, it wasn't as bad, although the rain kept coming. It was little drizzles here and there, but we got back safe and sound, had a restful evening, and woke up the next day with the plan just to drive straight home. But realized that maybe just to stop in just one more time to see if there was anything that we may have missed. And so got there, and this time it wasn't as crowded. It was still a ton of people, but instead of it being like professional football crowded, it was more like college football crowded. And so went through, and this time just like slowly walked through the vendors. And while we were walking through, came across this vendor. It's a small hand-dyed company called Cozy Color Works. It's a hand-dyed superwash yarn that they have. And we got 3 skeins of this, and I'm going to make the Andrew Amari's pattern, the Weekender Light, with this. And for this particular skein of yarn, it's 550 yards for and it was $32 fingering weight. And let's see the name of it. Oh, Mocha Magic. There it is. So I have 3 skeins of this, and I'm going to make this for my sister-in-law. She requested. And so I was like, sure. And when I saw this, I was like, I want to start it now. It's so beautiful. And what I think one of the reasons why I'm so attracted to this particular yarn and almost bought some for myself is because there's specks of other colors in it, and that's what takes away from the blandness, because sometimes when you're using like taupe or beige or a cream, it can look a little bland and it doesn't really accentuate the yarn as much. And I think with these little specks of color, it really highlights it. And I noticed that this was very similar to my Dusty Storm from Needles at the Ready. So if I run out of this yarn, I can always use this to supplement. So we'll see how that goes. So after we visit that stall, we walked around some more, and her mother wanted to get some lotion too, so she went and got some lotion for her. And while I was waiting for her, I saw Junction Fiber Mill. Now I've heard of this particular fiber company a few times, and I really wanted to check them out. They're located in Vermont, and this is called Farm Fresh Settlement Farm, and this is a mix of Multidel and Chevet Will. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And they mill their own yarn, they spin their own yarn in the same location. And they provide a little overview about their mill, but I was just really excited to try this. And what I love so much about it is how rustic it is. Like, it has some of the hay is still in the wool, and I think it would be really great for, I don't actually know what I'm going to be using the yarn for. This was my only purchase that I made without a clear idea of what this yarn would be used for. I think it's a little too rustic for a hat, and it could possibly be used for a blanket, maybe, I don't know, or a gift. So we'll see what I'll end up making with this. But I think one of the reasons why I did end up buying the yarn is because I saw the bag and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And you got a free tote for 3 skeins of yarn. So I'm like, I bought this in 2 other colors and got this one, this tote. And I thought it was super cute, and I can't wait to make something with it. So we'll see. Another cute tote that I got, this was actually purchased on day 1, I forgot to mention, was this tote. Now, I've been wanting to get one of these forever. This is, it says, if I can't take my knitting, I'm not going. And I loved this particular tote, and I had to get it. So I'm really happy with this find. And I bought this in both purple and red, and it was only, again, 20 bucks. So I was like, oh, well, that's a no-brainer. And again, that fit all in my big wool bag. So after we went through some of the smaller barns and just slowly walked through them and saw things and didn't feel as rushed to buy something or the pressure to buy anything, we went back into the buildings A, B, and C, and just was, again, just perusing around. And as I was walking by, I heard a woman say, like, oh yeah, Mrs. Babs, this and the other. And I was like, Mrs. Babs, where's Mrs. Babs? And so she told me exactly how to get there. And sure enough, Chantel and I were both like, really? We walked by it like multiple times. But fortunately, while we were there, I was able to pick up a sweater quantity of this yarn. They actually had this knitted in the Traveler, and I was like, I want to knit the Traveler with this exact yarn. And so this is Mrs. Bab Laura Falls. This is their sport weight yarn, 100% superwash merino. You get about 300 yards per skein, and I believe I bought 5 skeins of this. So I got this one for the Traveler by Andrea Mari. And then I saw this. This is their exclusive colorway for Rhineback, and I'm like, well, you have to get it. And you get, for this particular skein of yarn, you get 260 yards blue face luster wool. Now this was a little bit on the pricier, and this was $58, and usually I would not spend that much money on a colorway, but I really liked it, and I'm like, you got to treat yourself. So this is the second purchase I made where I was like, maybe not. I think that this is going to be, I know I'm going to knit a shawl. I think I'm going to do the this Tunisian crochet shawl that Tony Lipsy has on her YouTube channel. The name of it escapes me, but what's really cool about it is that you do, half of it is in honeycomb and the other half is in like a simple stitch. So I think this would be perfect for it as well. So, and I think I have enough yardage to do fairly nice size of it. So I want to crochet with it or whatnot because I think the colorway will pop out a little bit more. And the great thing is that if I need to, I do have some grape color yarn that's of similar colorway that I can use to add in there if I want to make it bigger. And then the final yarn I got from Mrs. Babs is right here. So I've changed my mind 4 million times. It feels like about my Stephen West shawl. Eventually I am going to make it. And when I saw this, I was like, well, I definitely might. Let me hide my face. So this is their Granite Slet, the 6 Yummy superwash merino wool, fingering weight. You get a total of 798 yards, which is more than enough for the granite shawl. And I just love the colors on this, and I think it'll be perfect for a shawl. So I'm going to make I'm either going to make the Stephen West shawl with it or something else, but definitely see myself making that. I cannot wait to cast on that particular brand. And so I thought it was done when I left Mrs. Babs. I was like, okay, I feel good. And I've been on the fence about my yarn choice for the Cloud Peak yarn, and I had looked at a couple other it's because there wasn't anything that was like I was gravitating towards at the Fiber Festival. I had looked online and saw a few things that I'm like, I kind of like, maybe I'll buy it. A lot of the yarn that I gravitated towards that I was thinking about for the Cloud Peak was all DK weight, and I need a worsted weight, and for whatever reason it wasn't available in worsted weight. So I decided to go back to Bare Naked Wool and see if I see anything. And while I was there, I saw their Stone Soup worsted, and this particular colorway is called Marble. And it's the same makeup as the DK weight one. You get 230 yards of this. So I bought a sweater quantity of this where I can make the Cloud Peak cardigan with this, or I can make one of the other sweaters, the patterns that they had on display, because they had a lot of their beautiful patterns knitted up in their yarn. So I would either make one of their patterns, or I might make the Cloud Peak cardigan with it. I'm on the fence about it. What my frustration with the Cloud Peak cardigan is that I'm not getting gauge, and that I want to make it gray, and this is more of a, yeah, like a tote. And what I could see this in is like a beautiful rich cable, which the Cloud Peak cardigan is. So we'll see what I'll end up doing with that. But that, looking around, yep, that is my entire haul from Rhineback. Overall, I'm really glad I went to both days, because not only did I meet my shiro of Tony Lipsy, but I also met the GOAT, Andrea Amari. I was coming out of the barn and she was walking up the hill towards the barn, and I was like, I think that's Andrea Amari. I'm like, Andrea? And she like paused and looked, and so I was like, oh my God, hi. I was like, may I say hello? And she was so kind and generous enough to stop what she was doing to talk with me, to take a picture with me, and just actually took the time out to know my name. Whether she remembers it, who knows, but it was really personable, and I'm really grateful that she did that, because I have a ton of her patterns. Again, not knowing why I had frustration with one of her patterns, I can't recall, but clearly it was misguided, because the DRK Everyday Knit Sweater is the one sweater that fits me perfect, other than my stripe height dress. Everything else I've made, it's a little lopsided. I have to make a lot of adjustments, whereas the DRK, I can just put it on and it fits exactly the way I need it to, and it's flattering to my shape as well. So I am really excited to finish my tessellated vest. I also have my shifty cardigan that I have all the yarn for it. I just haven't started. I do have my weekender that I have as well, which I even considered this for. So the good thing about this yarn, although I have multiple patterns in mind for it, I have multiple patterns I can do with it. Whereas the Junction Farm yarn, I really don't know what I'm going to do with it. I did find a couple of little kids items on there, but my hesitation about that is that it has little, like I said, little pieces of hay in it, which makes it so authentic, but at the same time, it can make it a little itchy as well. So we'll see. You know what? I'm going to, maybe I'll reach out to Knitting at the Stash. Melissa, she always talks about really rustic wool, and maybe she might have some suggestions on what I can do with that. I'm gonna leave a comment, because I still haven't had a chance to watch her latest video because it came out while I was driving. So I hope to check it out, but I really like the yarn. I think it's really beautiful. And I think it has a lot of potential. And I bought this colorway, and let me see if I can reach it. Yep. And I bought this colorway. So it's really pretty. Now with this one, I noticed that there isn't any hay in it. It's actually fine. So I know that this is going to be fine. I don't see myself making, like, I know everyone's go-to, like, oh, if you can't figure out a pattern, just do a ranunculus. I'm not going to do a ranunculus with this. I think I would prefer to make like a stripe sweater with it. And I would probably make a children's size of it or an extra small and gift it to someone who might need it. But yeah, that is all I have to say about Rhineback purchases I made. I am so glad I went. I was back and forth about going, and not only was it great just to have a break from the everyday activities I have to do as a mom, as a wife, as a educator, but I just took a break, and it was just focusing on that. Now, granted, when I came home, everyone in my family was sick. Both my sons and as well as my husband are under the weather. And so I had to go right into nursemaid mode, where I was taking care of everyone. And most people are on the mend. I'm feeling a little congested now, but I'm going to keep taking my vitamins and hope that I don't get sick. And just to give updates about my current projects, even though I can share this on Knit Night, I am currently working on my sweater 19, and I'm happy to report that I finished one sleeve, y'all, and I cast on the sleeve for the second one. So here is the finished sleeve of the first one. Not only did I do it to the length I was supposed to, I know it looks super short, but it's actually to the length that it's supposed to be, which I'm really proud of myself. And I know once I block it, it's going to have its shaping, but I did a tubular bind off as well, because the way she has you do the decrease, it's a really cool decrease that you do. It's actually part of the design. So you do some people, when you knitwear designers will do a decrease where it would come in on both sides, but for this particular decrease is on the inside where you can't see it, and I think that was really intentional and really well done. So I'm excited about this one. Again, I was nervous about the arm length. I'm like, is it long enough? And I measured it twice, but according to it is the right length of it. And worst case scenario is bracelet sleeve, and I'll just call it a day. It is drop shoulder, so I know that that will also add to it too, because I know when I had it on my drop shoulder, it initially came to the midpoint of my bicep. So tried it on. It felt like it fit, but it was also on barber cable, so that's something to take in consideration. But I did go ahead and cast on for my second sleeve, and I'm going to do the exact length as a first one, and I'm pretty much following the directions as written in the pattern. I'm not doing anything in variation to it. I think I picked up about 6 more stitches. No, it is 6 more stitches. Ended up picking up 6 more stitches on the first one, and I did the same for the second one. My arm's a little bit bigger at the top anyway, so it gives me more shape. And then finally, I do see myself wearing this particular sweater over another shirt, a t-shirt, because of the eyelets has little holes in it, so I can see that happening. But overall, it's coming along really well. At this rate, I think I will have enough yarn. I was freaking out last night when I was working on it, because I was like, oh my god, I don't have enough yarn. I'm gonna have to order it from Knitting for Olive, and it's just gonna be one skein of yarn. And I went and checked to see how much yarn I had ordered, and I only ordered 10 for the first time and 2 for the second time. I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be enough, blah, blah, blah. So I went through a whole emotional crisis, and I realized it took me a ball and a half for the first sleeve, and I know it's gonna take me a ball and a half for the second one. And so when I finished the first sleeve, let me grab it. I had this much yarn left. And I was like, wait, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the body. So started adding it to the body. And then as I was looking, tucked deep in the corner was another whole halo. So I have 2 full halos plus this one, where I know not only will I finish the sleeve, but I will also be able to add more length to it, because I don't want it to be crop top. I want it to be a little bit past my waist. And now I know for certain, because if I just had this left, it's going to be cropped. but now it's going to go past my waist. So I'm really relieved about that. So my hope is to finish it this week, to be honest with you, and I'm going to push myself with that. I have successfully completed, I'm looking at my, I have successfully completed, let's see, that's 5, 10, 12. So I had 14 projects that I had on my needles that I had started, and I was like, got to get through them. I'm down to 12. And if I finish this one, that will be 11. The mini mott tanks, I'm making 3 of them because there are three people who have requested them. I think if I do those in DK weight yarn, they're going to work out quickly. The issue is that the colorways that everyone picked was more fingering weight. So after some deliberation, I decided to do 1 mini mott tank, which is in fingering weight yarn. So I'm going to do I found this variegated yarn at the colorway store. Not this exact color, but it's put aside somewhere, so I'm sorry I can't show it. But it is going to be in a picture reel on Instagram and on the end of this video. But anywho, I added so I'm going to do the mini mod tank for one student. I'm doing the Cami Rebel shirt for another student because I have a little bit more control over how I expand it, and I'm going to do that for her. And I think I'm going to do the Pearl Soho cami version, which is knitted very similar to the crochet one. The issue is I just cannot decide the yarn. So I'm going to go through my stash and see which yarn that really I gravitate towards, and then I'll make that because I can see her wearing this one as well. Again, I'm not going to use this, although this was purchased with the intention of making that for her, unless I use one skein of this and I can hold it together. I have a ton of the alpaca, so maybe I might hold it together with that. We'll see. So stay tuned for that. But my goal is to finish the sweater 19, and then I'll do my gift knits. I really want to have this finished for myself by Thanksgiving because I want this to be my Thanksgiving sweater. And then I'll start my gift knits, and I still have so many other projects in mind that I want to do, but I'm just going to take it one step at a time. My goal is to cast on the Cloud Peak cardigan and the Instant Crush cardigan no later than November 1st. And the month of November, just focus only on those 2 items. So wherever I am with any of my projects, I'm just going to put them on hold and just focus on the Instant Crush and Cloud Peak. Because those are the other 2 garments that I have in the cowl. I do have one more pair of socks that I entered for the cowl, but I've already submitted 2 entries, 1 hat, 2 entries for the small object. Not that I'm going to win. I don't expect to, but it's just fun to do. Okay, I have talked so much about Rhineback. I hope that it provided a clear understanding. At the end of the day, I highly recommend you to experience this at least once. It's just wonderful to be surrounded by people who have the same love and interest in the fiber that you may have. You can also pick up some tips and tricks from others, and it's a great opportunity for like a fiber enthusiast weekend away. Even if you don't end up buying anything or you don't see any yarn that really meets your fancy, just that opportunity to spend with your friends and really enjoy yourself is really great. And then finally, look for those additional events that take place either during or after visiting the yarn stalls, because as stimulating as wonderful it is to interact with the yarn, it's really great to check out other vendors. And so they had tea vendors and wine vendors and cocktails, and so regardless of what your beverage or choice, you can have even coffee you can have access to it, and then you can sit back and just reflect on your experience. Now, when I go back to upstate New York to attend a fiber festival again, I plan on doing Friday's Woollen Folk as well as the Cake Palooza. I didn't get a chance to do it this year because I had to work on Friday. So if I were to go next year, I would probably take off on Friday so that way I can experience the whole thing. Travel down on Thursday and do that. And if Pick Up Every Stitch does the Road to Rhineback experience again, I probably will start there first and then make my way up, because where we were staying, we were very close to the city, so I can see myself going to Pick Up Every Stitch, doing that experience, and then driving to the Airbnb, staying the night, and then staying somewhere close enough where I can go to Woollen Folk and go to Rhineback where it's not too much of a commute. So that's all I have to share about Rhineback. Thank you for tuning in, and check me out on Instagram. I'm Ray 282320, and definitely feel free to drop any comments, questions, or concerns. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.